Hello, everyone. My name is Hotep here with Raising Royalty, a monthly podcast produced by Black Education Station, where educators and experts share their knowledge about what it takes to build strong children. Raising Royalty is presented by Black Education Station because at BES, our main objective is to help our children develop into the young kings and queens they were born to be. We know it takes a village to do this. So, on this show, we invite educators and experts to share their knowledge and experience as we transform the world into our kingdom. As the great Frederick Douglass said, it is easier to build strong children than repair broken men. And I'm going to add and women to that statement as well. Aisha, Dr. Aisha Dennis, how you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much. Happy to be here with you.
Yes, yes, yes. So for those that are watching, this episode is actually the first of the Raising Royalty reboot. And we're very excited to have our first guest, Dr. Aisha Dennis. Why don't you introduce her?
Absolutely. So, Michelle Person is a powerhouse in education, literacy, and culturally responsive storytelling. Armed with a psychology degree from Skidmore College and a master's in educational leadership from Capella University, Michelle has spent over 20 years transforming classrooms as a certified teacher, principal, and coach to hundreds of educators and parents. Frustrated by the lack of diverse, multicultural characters in children's literature, she turned that challenge into a mission and a movement. Today, Michelle is the author of 6 celebrated children's books, including the #1 bestseller, Nathaniel English in Leaders of the Revolution, which has inspired countless young readers to see themselves as leaders and change makers. Her passion for representation didn't stop at books. Michelle is the visionary founder of Just Like Me Presents, a dynamic multimedia company that champions literacy, culturally responsive teaching, and active learning experiences. Just Like Me presents groundbreaking flagship program, Meanwhile in Africa, is reshaping how students in grades K through 5 learn history by centering truth, critical thinking, and African American culture. With a bold focus on cultivating leadership and entrepreneurial mindsets, Michelle isn't just teaching kids about the past, she's preparing them to own the future.
Well, 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 wow. You know what? I used to watch one of the other podcasts and I would hear people read the introduction and how and see how the guests would respond to hearing their introduction read to that read over over the podcast. And this is my first time actually hearing your bio, Michelle. And wow, I mean, 6 books. And now hold on. I have questions, but let me just stick to the script here for now, and then we'll get into the questions in between
Okay.
time. All right. So, #1 question we have for you. Thank you for being here first and foremost. The question is this though. Why did you agree to actually be a guest on the Raising Royalty podcast? We're always curious as to finding out why people want to be, agree to be a part of this.
This is like exactly the type of thing that I do. I like things that are positive, that are for our kids, that empower parents, and this just checked all the boxes. Plus, Dr. Aisha asked me, and she and she reached out and she saw like we followed each other for a long time. She actually was my daughter's first Spanish teacher. She reached, we followed each other since then. And there was a post that, we follow each other's content and like he gave the contact kind of like that. And she saw one of my posts and she was like, "Oh, come be on the podcast. Like we want to talk to you." And so like there was that too. But then obviously, like, again, like my whole thing is I want to create as much content as possible, put as much, there's no excuse in this day and age for us to not have children who are educated in beyond what these classrooms are teaching. But I also know, and the reason I started my company is that like it can be hard to try to find resources as a parent to help bridge that gap, because it really is a lot of times left up to the parents to try to bridge that gap. So anytime I can be of an assistant to create an open source resource for parents to be able to take what they hand us and like create, bridge a gap and create it into something that our children can actually use, I'm all for it. So
Mm.
that was why I said yes.
Thank you so much, Doc. We really appreciate that.
Mhm.
That being said, that actually opens up the door to my next question for you, which is, what are your thoughts about the state of education for young children today in the United States?
It's scary. I mean,
Mm.
there's just nothing else it's very, very scary. The reason I started Meanwhile in Africa, it actually came together during the pandemic, because I just became basically, look at my education background was, I was a teacher for 11 years and decided that, oh, if I really want to make change, I need to become a principal. And then you become a principal and you realize like, wow, you actually have no power. Like people think you have power and they yell at you like you have power, but you have
Mm.
actually no power. You're really a figurehead. And then, and I'm trying to make decisions for not just the 25 kids in my classroom anymore. I'm making decisions for 400 children every year. So like, you do that math, like 400 kids a year times 11. That's how many kids I was in charge of shaping during when I was an administrator. And it got really frustrating to try to know that you are the person that is supposed to be giving them the best possible education, and you are blocked at every turn to try to make any real impact, and do any true learning that's going to really better, create a path that's going to better them. And so I wanted to still stay in education, and I stepped outside because I'm like, all right, well, if I can't, for years, my model was I'm going to fix the broken system from within. And then I got to the point where I was like, yeah, I can't do that anymore. Like, this is too hard to try. This system was not created for us. And so the idea that we're going to be able to fix something, the system works exactly the way it's supposed to work. And so we're not going to be able to fix something that was never for us to begin with. The best that we can hope for is that since this is all that we have, is to get what we can out of what they deign to give us, and then combine it with what we know that our children need so that we can be able to compete on this uneven playing field that they like say is even. And so the state of education right now, it's the gap is getting larger and larger. The resources are shrinking. And if you really want your child to get anything worthwhile out of the education system right now, you have to pay attention to what's happening in the news. You have to be up there and present in the schools, and you have to be prepared to not just let the duty of education fall on the teachers that are teaching your kids, because if you do that, then I mean, your baby's goose is cooked. Like I just like so the state of education right now, it's not that it can't be navigated, but it's that it must be navigated in order for it to be anything worthwhile. So I guess that's so if we're giving it a rating scale, I don't know, like a five, like a four, like it's not, it's definitely like I said, maybe a six if you got a real, if you in a really nice district, but there's not one public opportunity that I can think of that I would rate as like an eight or a nine. I just can't think of one. Like the state of public education. I can't speak for private. I can't speak for, but the state of public education right now for black and brown babies, we're talking at five at best, three is the usual. And so you really have to like go in knowing that and understand that this is what we got, so we got to navigate it. So you have to be ready to supplement at every turn.
Mm. Aisha, did you have something you wanted to ask? Or
I just wanted to know, just based on your experience over the course of the past 11 years that you had that experience in the public school system, do you feel that that gap has increased more? Has it been a steady increase, or has there been a jump recently
The
due to
sad
what's
part
happened?
is I don't think there's been a jump per se. I think people after the pandemic finally began to pay more attention to what was going on. I will say that some like people want to say like people like to say that, oh my God, like this wasn't like that when I was in school. Yes, it was. And I can say that because I started teaching in 2000. And I started teaching in 2000. I remember my very first year teaching. I got it. Never in my I was Teach for America. Like you go out of college, you say you're going to teach, you're going to change the world. It was awesome. And I got there and they assigned me to fourth grade. And like I just assumed that I wasn't ready. My kids couldn't read. They were in fourth grade. And I did not have one, I probably had probably three students in my class of 24 in fourth grade that year who could read. And I had three complete non-readers, couldn't read a
Wow.
stop sign. And then when you dig deeper, and I say it's been like this for a long time because specifically one of my children, it was a little girl who could not read at all. Her mom had come up through that particular school, and the teachers, because she was a teen mom, so the mom had the baby at like 14 years old. So she was in eighth grade when she got pregnant with the baby that was in my class that by fourth grade, and and she had two kids. Najwa was the oldest, and she had another baby that was younger than Najwa. So you figure this woman was at 28, had come through this school system, stayed in that neighborhood, raised her kids in that neighborhood, and then her kids came to school, and just like her, they could not read. And so what I say to that is, if I got this baby in 2000, go 14, 15 years back, we talking like, the like 14 years, 15 years back from 2000. So we talking 85, you know what I mean? Like it's not, this isn't new. So, and that history, all the way to the last school that I was a principal of, there was a young man who was emotionally disturbed and walked around and broke glass and screamed at people and like broke it. He just was a horrible kid. But when you look at, he was being raised by his single father, who was also a student at that school 15 years ago with the same teachers that his kid had. You look at and his dad had, you could put their disciplinary records right next to each other, and you could see that the apple does not, in fact, fall far from the tree. And this type of behavior was going on at that point, because that was 2020. So we're talking early 90s. This is not new. Nobody was talking about it. There were no phones. Nobody could see it. Stories were isolated. The media was more like, we have more access now. So do I think that recent events are I think it has always been like this in urban education. Nobody was just talking about it. Do I think it has gotten a little bit worse since the pandemic? For sure. Something happened to those babies when they came back. I don't know what it was. I do not think it's isolated just to urban. I think all the babies lost their minds, because I have had the opportunity to work. The last part of my traditional career was in suburban schools. And when I tell you the behaviors are so similar, the only difference is those parents where my parents in my urban schools would threaten to beat me up in the parking lot, the parents at the suburban schools threaten to sue you with their lawyers, and they do. And so all because their babies are doing the same thing my urban black and brown kids were doing, the white kids doing the same thing. The behaviors across the board are the same. This has been going on for a very long time. I think we're just now, people started to be able to peer in and see during COVID. And once you peel back that curtain, it's kind of hard to pull it back. So I don't think, I think us seeing it we got a better picture. But I would tell people the stories I would tell people back in 2001, 2002, they'd be like, you lying, that didn't happen. Yes, it did. Yeah, it absolutely happened. Yes, it did.